A major structural shift is developing in Ohio's cannabis market. A new legislative proposal could allow cannabis processors to become fully vertically integrated, meaning they would be able to cultivate cannabis, process it into finished goods, and sell it directly to consumers through retail dispensaries. This is not a small regulatory adjustment. This is a fundamental change in how value is created and captured across the supply chain. I'm Daniel Sabet, CFO at Green Growth CPAs, and I've worked with cannabis operators across multiple states, helping them scale, improve cash flow, and navigate complex regulatory environments. Across every market I've worked in, one pattern is consistent. When states introduce vertical integration opportunities, the operators who move on early gain a long-term advantage that compounds over time. Ohio is already a billion-dollar cannabis market, and it is still in an early growth phase. It has licensing structures, regulatory frameworks, and competitive dynamics are still being defined. That creates a window of opportunity. Operators who understand how to position themselves during these transitions are the ones who capture disproportionate value, not just in revenue, but in margin, control, and long-term scalability. This proposal introduces exactly that type of opportunity. Under the current structure in Ohio, most operators are segmented. Cultivators grow cannabis, processors convert that cannabis into finished products, and dispensaries sell those products to consumers. Each segment operates independently, and each layer adds cost, complexity, and margin pressure. Processors rely on cultivators for supply. Dispensaries control the end customer relationship. Pricing is influenced by multiple parties, and operational inefficiencies compound across the chain. Vertical integration removes those constraints. An integrated operator controls cultivation, processing, and retail. That control translates directly into financial performance. Input costs become more predictable because supply is internal. Product availability improves because production and retail are aligned. Margins expand because the operator captures value at every stage instead of sharing it across multiple businesses. I've seen this play out repeatedly. Operators that transition from a fragmented model to an integrated one often improve gross margins without increasing revenues. They reduce reliance on third parties, they streamline operations, and gain better visibility into demand. They also make better decisions. When retail data feeds directly into cultivation planning, inventory becomes more efficient. When processing is aligned in both supply and demand, waste decreases and product margins improves. The advantage is not just financial, it's operational and strategic. This is why vertical integration consistently creates separation between top performing operators and everyone else. Here's how this shift impacts real businesses. A mid-sized processor operating under the current system purchases flower from cultivators at wholesale prices. That product is processed into oils, edibles, or packaged flower and then sold to dispensaries. Revenue is generated, but margins are compressed. The processor has limited control over input costs, limited influence over retail pricing, and no direct relationship with the end customer. Cash flow is dependent on how quickly retailers move products and pay invoices. Now consider the same operator under a vertically integrated model. They cultivate their own cannabis, eliminating markup on raw material. They process that cannabis internally, controlling quality and costs. They sell directly through retail, capturing the highest margin segment of the transaction. That shift fundamentally changes the economics of the business. Margins expand across all three stages. Cash flow becomes more predictable because sales are direct. Inventory management improves because production is aligned with real-time retail demand. Brand development also becomes powerful. An integrated operator can control how products are positioned, priced, and marketed at the point of sale. That creates consistency and strengthens consumer loyalty. This is where scale begins to compound. At the same time, this proposal creates opportunity for new entrants. Processors that were previously limited to one segment of the supply chain now have a pathway to expand into cultivation and retail. That creates new competitive dynamics and opens the door for operators who are prepared to execute. However, execution is what determines outcomes. This proposal does not automatically grant licenses. The legislation must be finalized, and regulators will define how permits are issued, how many are available, and what requirements must be met. Timing will matter, preparation will matter, capital will matter. Operators that wait until permits are released to begin planning will be behind. Operators that prepare in advance will be in position to move immediately. The path forward is clear for operators who want to take advantage of this shift. Start by elevating your current business model in detail. Identify where margins are being lost today, whether through wholesale purchasing, third-party processing, or limited access to retail channels. Quantify how vertical integration would impact those margins and where the biggest opportunities exist. Next, monitor regulatory developments closely. Legislative approval is only the first step. The rulemaking process will define eligibility, application criteria, and timelines. Operators who stay engaged during this phase will have a clear understanding of how to position themselves. Capital planning is critical. Vertical integration requires investment across multiple areas: cultivation facilities, processing infrastructure, and retail operations. Securing capital early and aligning it with a clear strategy creates a significant advantage when permits become available. Operational readiness is equally important. Integration requires coordination across teams, systems, and processes. Businesses that already have strong financial reporting, inventory management, and compliance systems will be able to scale more effectively. Finally, positioning matters. The first group of operators to secure vertically integrated permits will establish control over supply chain, customer relationships, and pricing strategies. That advantage compounds over time and becomes increasingly difficult for competitors to overcome. Ohio's cannabis market is entering a new phase. This proposal has the potential to reshape how businesses operate, how markets are created, and how competitors evolve. Operators that move early will control more of the value chain. Operators that delay will compete against businesses that already do. This is a strategic inflection point for the Ohio cannabis industry. Thank you for watching. Stay sharp.